a very warm welcome to our panelists. And we have with us amazing guests. We have Jakub Borowiec from PwC. We have Daniel Cohen from PayU. And we have Monika Röhr-Łukasik from Foundiver. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for accepting this invitation to be a part of a panel that is really focusing on the strategic power of artificial intelligence, but also strategizing around an AI. And also, the topics are related to customer experience as it pertains to artificial intelligence. So before we get into our topic, I would like to first invite Kuba to tell us a bit more about the findings of a very interesting report that they have carried out at PwC, which can elaborate a bit on, what it means to adopt artificial intelligence today, who adopts it, who is willing to adopt it, and who is not. So, Kuba, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, if you think that it was 1956 and the Dartmouth workshop when AI just was born, and then a few years later, already in the 60s, first ChatGPTs, I would say first chatbots arrive, already powered by the contemporary Gen AI engines. So 60 years later, we end up with ChatGPT and Gen AI as we understood currently. And since now, we've been talking about AI, about implementing, about using that, about using Gen AI per se. But how does it transfer into the real numbers? So the survey you've mentioned is basically the young generation, I would say 35 and below, have the experience with using ChatGPT in a quite significant percentage. That's 75% of the people at that age have already used that. And we are talking about employees, about customers, existing and potentials. On just the opposite, there is a different number. Just 25% of the people of 45 and above have the experience using ChatGPT. So if we think that majority of these are the executives, senior managers, I mean the gap between those what young people really expect and what is the awareness of understanding of the technology is quite significant. And then coming back to strategy. We've been talking about strategy and a lot of companies, as we all know, have implemented AI-focused strategy, are talking about transformation. My experience is that it's more narrow, very tactical, getting the POC up and running with the immediate ROI. And what is the perspective of the customers? Our research showed again that basically there is a high expectation of getting AI, robots, or even virtual experience when trying on the clothes. But at the same time, the vast majority of those customers say, even during shoppings, we want to have human touch, human experience. So it's not only about end-to-end technology. And finally, one of the most striking probably points, 85% of the people that professionally use ChatGPT, they use it unofficially. It means basically still the organization are not ready to provide the adequate tools, but at the same time, people are ready to use it and want to use it.
Yeah, these are very interesting findings, particularly the last one about the fact that people actually do embrace AI also in their professional work, regardless of what the adoption is in terms of the organization as a whole, I would say. And here's my question to Monika and to Daniel. What is your take on AI today in terms of its adoption? So we do know about, maybe some of you are familiar with this thing called the AI paradox, where it's actually quite easy to run a pilot project with artificial intelligence or generative AI as of today, but it's actually very hard to scale artificial intelligence in the organization. And I think your report and some other reports are confirming the same thing, that, well, with the whole AI frenzy of last year, everybody thought that it would go really, really fast. But what we see today is that the adoption, particularly adoption at scale, is actually a slow and cumbersome process. So, what is your take on that? What are the main hurdles? What are the main challenges? And how do you think that pace will develop in the coming years? Maybe we'll start with Daniel.
Okay. So, hi everybody. Dzień dobry. I hope I got that right. So for us at PayU, I mean, we're a payment processor over 20 years. We've actually been embracing AI, the different generations of AI for many, many years. I mean, if you go back to machine learning and simple analyses and data analytics. So our organization has always been very data-minded and data-focused. The new buzzword that appears suddenly, last year around, generative AI and how do we use bots or more clever and smarter bots to do our work is something that obviously, we engaged very early on. We're actually in the process of deploying several AI initiatives, primarily in the area of internal efficiencies, and I like very much your quote, Alexandra, around the joy that people get and doing their job and working with AI and the fulfillment that they can achieve. So we're actually in the process of implementing several AI initiatives within the company. I think the brick wall that people are hitting, that organizations are hitting, because the paradox, quick, new shiny toy, let's adopt AI, but then you hit the brick wall, and in our experience, it's mostly data. And the quality of the data, the sources of the data, how you use data, how you keep the data and groom it, and then how you feed it into AI, that's, to us, was the number one challenge in driving larger scale adoption across the organization and different use cases as well.
And Monica, when you look at this adoption curve, you're also specializing in customer experience, so more human touch is probably involved here. But when you look at this adoption currently, what are your expectations for, a year ahead from now, or 2 years, maybe 3?
Hi, everyone. Well, you will be actually surprised. We speak about AI with a human touch in the customer service industry. As a matter of fact, AI has been an integrated part of our strategy since years. And Foundever is actually one of the top 3 leaders when it comes to customer experience tech companies worldwide. We serve over 750 different brands worldwide. And from that perspective, obviously, we have a lot of insights and knowledge from those brands, how advanced they actually are in realizing that AI is an integrated part of their customer experience. And then obviously they see us as their experts. Foundever has invested since years now into this technology. We have a chief AI officer who's building the strategy around AI in our company. We have our own ChatGPT, which is called EverGPT, which we are using, which is for the benefit of our employees worldwide. And we simply see that the scale is related to 2 aspects. First of all, the integration of the technology. Our clients, all of them, have their own technology, and integrating ours with theirs is a challenge, but we see here as well opportunities because we are building flexible AI solutions on our own that should support this integration. But the second, and I think the most important aspect, is the trust in the technology and around personal data, the data technology behind that, and in making sure that our customer service representatives are learning very fast how they can actually enhance the AI for the benefit of their work. Currently, there is obviously a lot of communication around what will happen in the customer service industry once AI is generative, is individual, and can actually be an assistant to a customer rather than speaking to an agent. But as a matter of fact, in Foundever, we believe that both, so AI and human beings, will be working together to make sure that the customer experience will be simply faster, more exciting, and trustworthy.
And this is probably something that this younger generation that Kuba was referring to feels as an obvious phenomenon that should be happening, right? That this is the expectation. But Kuba, you touched upon a topic that I don't think is very much discussed, which is that this adoption is very different for different generations, right? And there was a comparison made prior to AI sort of as the new internet. Probably 20 years ago, some people were thinking, maybe they were business owners, should I actually use internet? Maybe yes, maybe no, right? Maybe there are some people who have similar thoughts today, right? Should I use artificial intelligence? Maybe it's just like a hype and it will go away, so why should I care? Whereas some others definitely feel that this is just the beginning of just simply a new era of digital transformation that is here to stay. So when you look at the leaders, right, and their adoption of artificial intelligence, you know, what is the eagerness? And when you think about those perspectives of different generations, you know, what would be your tip for those who probably do not maybe yet recognize the full power of AI?
So the first thought that comes to my mind is basically, you know, majority of us already use AI. We just probably don't recognize or, you know, just don't think about it. So basically, the popular virtual assistants in our mobile phones, or, you know, recommendation engines we have on the streaming platforms. So basically, it's here, and I would say probably it's more about this new thing like ChatGPT and using this from that perspective. First of all, I would say it's probably with the adoption of the technology itself, but the users, so how they use really like the typical computer or laptop or just Google search for their own purposes. That's the first thing when they see the value. And the second thing, I think, you know, how much value they really get from using that. So showing them the value, showing how they can do things better, quicker, and really giving them some more space for even hobbies or, you know, thinking during the job for value-added activities. That's the tip I would probably say that it's really worth considering and having fun with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now a question to Daniel, because Daniel mentioned data, and I think data is a very hot topic, and I invite really all of you to maybe share your perspective on that, because recently what we have heard is that actually large language models have eaten up all the available data. Oh, we don't know to what extent that's actually true, but you do hear here and there that high quality data is, you know, very much demanded. That if there is no more high-quality data, there will be synthetic data because these models just need to learn all the time. I was wondering, since Daniel, you mentioned data so much and data stewardship and, you know, looking at data as a very important asset, you know, what's your take on that? Will we have more data to feed these models, and, you know, should that be a point of concern?
I wouldn't. The amount of data is not a concern to me. I think we're always going to have more data than we can chew. The concern, and again, particularly as it relates to PayU, you know, being a global company, we have operations across the globe, different data sources, different formats, different ages. Some data sources are 20 years old, some are more modern and only 5 years old. The main challenge for us as an organization was consolidating that data, normalizing that data, putting it in a central repository, and making it available for the AI to learn from. And again, our use case within PayU is primarily internal, right? We're trying to create more and more efficiencies within the organization, not necessarily, and I think to your question about, I was going to make a comment around the adoption. I think there are kind of two generations that I can see today in the workforce. There's still the work hard generation that comes to work, you know, does its job and you know, is there for the work. And then there's the work-life balance kind of generation where adoption of these kinds of tools are moving a lot. We can philosophize about work-life if we had the time, but you know, the adoption of these tools is much, much quicker. I think though that for the work hard generation, you know, I remember my boss, you know, email, one of my former bosses, email was coming out, he was still using fax machines. But he had the time, you know, it didn't move as fast as you see kind of AI moving, and I think the speed at which it's moving is what's going to drive faster adoption within that middle layer, kind of between, you know, the millennials and the executives that Kuba called out. And people have to kind of rid themselves of the fear that AI is here to replace my job. And once you rid yourself of that fear and you embrace the potential that it offers you to do a lot more and more meaningful work, and that's again why I love that quote, then, you know, I think adoption will start moving a lot faster. So you're either going to get pushed or you're going to, you know, embrace it as I think you should.
Monica, you have also mentioned that fear, you know, that you also see, right? The fear of being replaced. Do you also consider it one of the main hurdles when it comes to AI adoption currently, or do you see also from your perspective any other substantial challenges?
I would definitely say that AI will help us to take away all the very easy and transactional customer service challenges that we have. Because obviously, if you look back even 5 years back, and I can speak from 16 years experience in the customer service industry, our customer service representatives, they had several different tools. In order to find the right answer, they had to look through different articles in their knowledge base, which was a completely different system from the CRM that they had to put the customer data into. So the complexity that was in this job, where everyone says, well, you're working in a call center, how challenging can that be? Well, it's a very, very complex job, in fact. But if we then look now at the capabilities that AI is giving us, and the fact that you can have a personal assistant for a customer service representative, or you have chatbots, or even voice bots that can take away the very easy questions or requests, reset my password, etc., from an agent, that means that we have to transform our customer service representatives into more empathetic people, into people who are able to work and solve complex problems and not the easy ones. So I think that the industry is in a moment of transformation, and this transformation is a huge one, which will take a couple of years. But I do see and definitely believe that it can only support the fact that we will be able to solve and support customers, consumers much faster, and that will definitely help, in the end of the day, the industry.
Let me stay with you, Monica, but that will be a question to all of you, because you mentioned a specific industry and how, jobs will be reconfigured because of this transformative technology, and how our skills would migrate into certain areas, right? We will leave some others behind. But this is sort of a question that I also have when I am carrying out my research, because AI is such a huge power, right? And it's everywhere, right? It's clearly, a wave that is sort of touched by everybody, or everybody is touched by it, I should rather say. And I often wonder, is there anything sector-specific, when it comes to AI adoption? Do you feel like, from your perspective, you're probably working with many different clients, many different walks of life, is there anything about this current wave of generative artificial intelligence that makes it particularly prone for adoption in some sectors, as opposed to others that will just not have to go through the exercise of transforming themselves all that much anytime soon? Do you think that this is the case, or rather is it so that it's a one-size-fits-all, in the sense that it's going to be just this huge wave and everybody has to jump right on it?
I really don't think that's possible because of, first of all, the regulations. If we look from the perspective, and I think it was on one of the earlier panels spoken about, the fact that we have to look for global regulations that will support in actually integrating AI into business. Currently, we don't have that. So that's, I would say, the first obstacle that we have, because we can have whatever imagine that we could have over the future and think about, yes, let's go and let's just do it because it's so great, and it will develop itself, the technology. But then, as a matter of fact, there is this aspect of the regulations that are still ongoing, and we have different types of regulations in different parts of the world. They are giving us certain limitations, but then again, I think that's an aspect that is not known yet sufficiently to be able to really foresee the power of the technology, because that it has power, we all know that. The question is how human beings are going to use it.
So we are still lacking evidence on that. Daniel, what's your take?
So I guess my piece of advice in terms of adoption, I don't think it's a vertical or use case, or I think for organizations, you have to have, you want to call it a strategy, fine, but you have to have a direction that embraces AI. Find the use case within your organization that makes sense. Small things. I mean, for example, with us, we have a global all hands. I couldn't break the barrier of 500 people joining, about 1,000 people in the company. I can't break 500. We figured out it was part to do with translation. So we bought a real-time AI dubbing bot, and suddenly, participation. So there are different places that you can use AI. Doesn't necessarily have to be customer-facing, it can still be internal, and my recommendation is start small and make sure you get the data right before you do.
Well, we started off with you, and we're going to finish with you. I guess this question is also, in a way, a question about the report that you've just carried out and the learning process. You know, anything sector-specific, anything that we could say about, you know, how fast will this technology progress in particular, not verticals, maybe tasks, you know, or anything of that kind?
I've recently heard from one of the vendors of the Chat GPT solution. So basically, they are in a nascent stage at all. I mean, they're still considering that they are building functionality of the Gen AI engines to do it scalable. But my takeaway is basically this way. I mean, it's not about ROI right now. It's not about trying to check if the POC is working or not. I mean, there are a big technology, I mean, the big firms that started with technology, going forward with technology, and, you know, not looking at particular use case, but basically using and utilizing the technology just to move forward. And I would look at this if you are open to check prototype, because the world is moving forward, the technology is developing, and if it's not the ROI right now, it will be in 2-3 years' time. But if we wait 2-3 years' time, it will be not 3 years behind, but probably 5, 7, 10.
Which would confirm that we are still in the springtime of artificial intelligence, and probably a long summer is ahead. Big thanks to Daniel, to Jakub, and to Monika, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.